Now on BBC World, another issue of global concern in Earth Report.
This week, Earth Report is back on the trail of the bushmeat poachers and traders of Central Africa. Travelling through southeast Cameroon and northern Congo, we witness some of the impacts of the logging industry. We find that the roads built to get the logs out have become a highway for the bushmeat traders. Whilst logging companies, governments and some wildlife groups claim their control measures are working, Earth Report has obtained undercover footage filmed by a former poacher that reveals the true extent of the bushmeat trade and asks if the public is getting the full picture. We're on our way to the scene of a brutal crime, accompanied by 2 eco-guards employed by the Cameroon government with funds from the European community. They're managed by the World Wildlife Fund. Their job is to protect the forest and its wildlife. 2 days ago, they came across this on the path. These are the remains of a family of 6 elephants, killed with machine guns and then butchered, primarily for their meat. These are forest elephants, more endangered than their savanna counterparts. This slaughter has taken place in the concession of an Italian logging company, Cefac, praised at one time by Prince Philip for its practices. The guards explain how the poachers work.
Après, ils abattent. Après avoir dépiécé maintenant, ils font ces étagères pour boucaner la viande. Au moins pendant une nuit. Toute la nuit, ils font boucaner la viande que le matin ce soit sèche.
The guards already suspect who's behind the killing.
Compte tenu seulement des rumeurs, ce sont les gars qui sortent vers Mambele. C'est eux qui viennent faire les dégâts ici. Quand on essaie au moins de voir les balles qu'ils ont eu à utiliser là, on essaie un peu de voir la balle là. On voit que c'est les PEM. La calache.
Earth Report's team headed off in search of more information. One of the first people to find the elephants was Desiree Dontigo, a field assistant working for WWF. He said he knows exactly who the poachers are and has heard them boasting about killing all the elephants in the park.
Because they have said they are going to put the national park a desert so far as elephant is concerned and any other big mammal.
It seems that everyone in the area knows who's responsible for killing the elephants, but no one wants to arrest them. According to Desiree Dontigo, those in power are unwilling to act.
I think if they really want to get them, they will get them. So it's a question of a voluntary for the people who are supposed to do their job.
The next stop was to meet the local chef de poste in Limbongo. On the way, we were offered elephant meat for sale. It seemed the area had suddenly been flooded with it. Under national and international law, elephants are protected, yet their meat is sold openly on the street by children. As representative for the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, MINEF, it's the chef de poste's responsibility to stop poachers. He blames the increased level of poaching on the influx of logging companies.
Bon, quand on a créé les sociétés forestières, il y a souvent des gens qui viennent chercher les emplois. Et quand ils ne trouvent donc pas ces emplois-là, bon, forcément ils font autre chose. Et cette autre chose n'est que le braconnage.
The chef de poste also said he knows exactly who killed the elephants and what weapons were used.
La bataille des 6 éléphants est due à certains éléments qui sont venus hors d'ici, qui sont venus de Mambele. Nous avons quand même les informations sur ce mouvement de ces gars-là. Ils sont arrivés, vous avez trouvé que ces éléphants ont été abattus sur un rayon de 15 mètres. Et donc ils ont utilisé une arme de guerre. Donc nous sommes dessus, on veut chercher à capter ces éléments. On nous a dit qu'ils sont quelque part. Mais jusque-là, on n'a pas encore aperçu un d'eux. Mais d'ici une semaine ou 2 semaines, on va les appréhender.
Our inquiries were reaching a dead end. Then, events took an unusual turn. We were contacted by a forest guard, prepared to go on camera to expose corruption. We obscure his face to protect him.
Si aujourd'hui on saisit une arme, et que cette arme vous relevez le numéro, vous l'amenez au bureau, vous déposez la charge chez le poste, ou d'un responsable que ce soit, au lendemain quand vous le retrouvez en forêt, qu'est-ce que vous allez imaginer? Ce qui est ce qu'il y a ici, c'est là. Ce que le braconnier est venu peut-être donner, négocier ou donner un peu quelque chose pour retirer son arme.
He also informed us of very serious accusations against the local chef de poste from Limbongo, the same official we interviewed about the 6 elephants.
Le chef de poste de Limbongo est en complicité avec les braconniers. Il y a un groupe à qui il appartient. Ils vont en forêt travailler pour lui. Quand il y a quelque chose, ils reviennent le signaler. Et puis il les paye. Donc, ce travail est à la faveur du chef.
We put these allegations to the chef de poste himself. He denied them completely.
C'est rigolo, hein. C'est que je ne fais pas mon métier. J'ai suivi quand même des eaux et forêts depuis 21 ans. Et tous mes chefs me connaissent, ils savent comment moi je travaille. Bon, ben, je ne manque pas d'ennemis, ils n'ont qu'à faire leur truc. Mon moral est tranquille, hein. Mon moral est tranquille, je fais mon travail.
Forest elephants and many other species whose meat is sold in bushmeat markets are fully protected under national laws. Efforts are now underway to uphold these laws and get the conservation message out. The case being heard in the High Court today is the first ever trial of its kind in Cameroon. Since the National Wildlife Act was passed in 1994, it's taken almost a decade to secure a prosecution. 4 men are being tried for trading in ivory. 2 of the defendants are found guilty as charged, and in December 2003 are sentenced to 1 month in prison and given a $500 fine. The authorities now hope that this will discourage others from breaking the law.
Je pense effectivement que les verdicts qui seront donnés par le tribunal pour ce qui est de ces cas vont servir un peu comme de base pour la lutte effectivement et la sensibilisation pour ce genre d'infraction.
As of September 2004, these sentences have still not been carried out. Court officials trying to track down the dealers were given the wrong address and they can no longer be found. But that's typical in this part of the world. Conviction for wildlife crimes rarely leads to punishment. Back at the site of the elephant butchery, it becomes clear this is by no means an isolated incident. We meet Karl Ammann and Joseph Mello. They've spent the last 8 years documenting illegal activities in the forests of Central Africa. Ammann is a wildlife photographer and contributor to Eating Apes, a book chronicling the demise of endangered forest species. Ammann told us that using local undercover investigators is the only way to find out what's really going on the ground.
When it comes to bushmeat, undercover investigations are a must. Teams of local operatives, well educated, accepted by government, by NGOs, doing the job of establishing what is being achieved, how much of this still goes on.
Joseph Mello is Cameroonian. He knows all about illegal hunting. He was a poacher himself for several years and knows all the tricks of the trade. Now he works with Ammann to expose poaching.
I used to set snares for about 400 snares in the forest in order to get more animals to sell. Sometimes I used to also hire a gun to hunt like this.
Ammann met Joseph Mello on one of his first trips into bushmeat country. Here Mello has led Ammann to a family of gorillas that have just been killed. In his frequent visits to Central Africa, Ammann has witnessed widespread and systematic poaching. To reveal what's really going on, he equipped Mello with a camera, gaining exclusive access to places where no European would be allowed. Once roads are built and the forest is opened up, controlling the movement of illegal bushmeat in and out of the area becomes difficult and extremely expensive. Governments, logging companies and some NGOs claim certain protected areas are now under control. But when Joseph Mello put their claims to the test in March 2002, his footage appeared to reveal a very different reality.
The road that is made by the logging companies is here, which makes many people to come inside here, which they want not only for themselves, they want to feed the companies, the loggers.
This week on Talking Point, we want you...
iTech, copiers, printers, faxes.
US-based Wildlife Conservation Society to try to control illegal bushmeat and claims to have significantly reduced poaching of protected species. The company also said it's on course to achieving the Forest Stewardship Council's stamp of approval. An audit carried out for the German government by forestry consultants backs this positive message. However, when Joseph Mello accompanied a local hunter into CIB's concession in northern Congo to test these control measures, he documented the killing of 2 black and white colobus monkeys.
Joseph has gone out again with his friend Sharif into the concession. Sharif has just shot the black and white colobus. The colobus got actually caught in the tree while falling down. They're finishing him off now.
Under Congolese law, the black and white colobus monkey is supposed to be fully protected.
And they obviously hunted that night, and they got duikers, which they transported the next day. So again, that rule totally ignored. Here, lighted torches with the rubber bands, which allow them to tie onto your head. All very illegal under the rules.
The next morning, Mello films the meat being transported out of the forest by logging trucks.
Then he takes it out on the road, you know. Yeah, they're going up the logging lorry to hike a cliff. You know, this is now these duikers and the dead colobus, and there seems to be no inspection. I mean, the driver has no problem transporting this hunter. Joseph walks behind him. He obviously asks if the lorry stops, they will take him on. And it seems there's no roadblocks en route to check it before the meat arrives in Pokola. So
We sent a video of this footage to TT International. The company usually imposes 3 to 8 day suspensions on staff caught smuggling or hunting protected species. But according to Ammann, the profits from bushmeat easily cover the loss in salary. National anti-poaching laws set out much stiffer punishments, but it appears company employees are exempt from these laws. The company said this footage could have been shot anywhere in the Cameroon or Congo. Guns are also smuggled freely around the region. Years of civil war, both in the Republic of Congo and now in the neighbouring Democratic Republic of Congo, have flooded the area with lethal weapons. Whilst filming in the CIB concession without permission, Joseph Mello says he was offered a variety of different guns, including illegal high-caliber elephant rifles and steel-tip shotgun cartridges specially designed for killing elephants. Mello claims these special cartridges were manufactured in a local logging company workshop. We asked CIB if it had any knowledge of this, but did not receive a response to this point. A recent GTZ German Development Agency study documented some 800 guns, mostly Kalashnikovs, being smuggled from this part of the Congo into Cameroon.
it's clear that these guns cross the borders very easily. This guy's actually just showing Joseph where he would hide bushmeat and where he could hide a gun.
Joseph Mello's footage also reveals the ease and frequency with which money changes hands.
Another immigration control. So here goes the money. Now this is all totally illegal. I mean, if you have a visa, you don't need to hand over money, but it's part of the culture. The government knows that the official can't really live on the salaries he's being paid, that he supplements his income.
Some timber company executives say this free-for-all culture applies equally to logging operations.
La loi ne s'applique même pas. Tout ce qui est exploité actuellement, 50% de l'exploitation forestière aujourd'hui est de la fraude. Et c'est au vu et au su de tout le monde. Il n'y a pas de possibilité, même pour une entreprise légale, de travailler légalement.
In such a lawless environment, Joseph Mellor has no problems accessing supplies of illegal meat under the counter. Even though he doesn't speak the local dialect in the CIB concession, here he's being shown by others how to buy elephant meat.
He shows now in a moment, if you want elephant meat, what you do when you ask for elephant meat. So again, beating the system is a lot of fun. It's a sport.
The authorities assure us the situation is under control. Foreign film crews on pre-arranged visits have shown forest eco-guards in action, arresting poachers and searching for bushmeat. Joseph Mellor's experience in the forest and on the road is very different.
Here we see what happened when a film crew documents the eco-guards, nice uniforms. This kind of searching just doesn't go on, it's done for the TV crews. And as we saw, when Joseph drove up in the truck he traveled in, he went in, shared a cigarette, paid some bribe, and nobody ever went out to look at the truck, and then they moved on.
In contrast to Cameroon, where Earth Report filmed freely, the Republic of Congo government and CIB appear to operate a much more restricted approach to foreign media, unless visits are pre-arranged. Earth Report's crew put this to the test and entered northern Congo by hitching a ride on a cattle boat, entering the country with visas but without permission to film. Despite sending a fax from London establishing our credentials and asking for filming permission, our crew is ejected from the country. In all the years he was illegally hunting and smuggling, Joseph Mellor was not once stopped or apprehended. The irony is that when he did get arrested, it was while trying to document illegal activities. In May 2002, he'd been filming without permission in Baka, in the CIB concession in northern Congo. He says an employee spotted him and reported him to the authorities. CIB has not denied this. He was taken to the high-security prison in the capital Brazzaville, where his equipment and tapes were all confiscated.
He was held in jail for 3 months without being charged. He had no access to his embassy staff. He had no access to a lawyer. He had no access to any medical treatment. He felt pretty miserable. He was in a special high-security facility. And when he was moved to the official jail from there, he was actually put on death row, because at that stage, he was accused of espionage, which carried the automatic death sentence.
After an international diplomatic and media campaign, the Congolese government called a press conference.
Monsieur Joseph Mellor a procédé à des prises de vue et des enregistrements sans autorisation des autorités congolaises compétentes et sans l'accord des autorités de la CIB.
With the international pressure his case had attracted, Joseph Mellor escaped the full measure of the law, and his sentence was reduced to 45 days in prison. Having already served 90 days, he was freed and deported back to Cameroon. His camera equipment and tapes were not given back, and he's not allowed to enter the Republic of Congo for at least 5 years. Here we see him going home to his family after 4 months away. Thankfully, Joseph Mellor's story has a happy ending. For years he broke the law and got away with it. The only time he ended up in prison was when he was trying to expose other lawbreakers.
I used to smoke the petrol all over, I went from all over the countries, which was illegal. I never had problems. I smoked the guns from the right way from there up to Eastern Province. I had no problems. I hunted gorilla chimps. As soon as I came at the right side to make sure everything should go smoothly, that's the time problem came. That's why I went to prison, maybe because I was talking the truth.
Conservation groups are deeply divided on how far they should go on cooperating with logging interests. Groups such as Greenpeace and the Rainforest Foundation are highly skeptical. As well as the Wildlife Conservation Society, WWF also has formal agreements with logging companies. Here at Yokuduma, WWF has organised an anti-poaching workshop. It shares the WCS's view that logging will not stop, so the best course is to work with the companies to safeguard as much wildlife and indigenous culture as possible.
People say that we're sleeping in the same bed than the devil. But tell me, how are you going to get those people changed if you don't talk to them, if you don't understand where they're coming from?
As logging concessions expand further into Central Africa, the price of trying to protect wildlife from bushmeat hunters keeps rising. Policing even a small part of the forest with eco-guards doesn't come cheap. WWF's budget runs to over $1 million a year, with almost 90% of this coming from the EC and other donors.
The taxpayer pays. I mean, the conservation organizations are now competing to be allowed to clean up after logging. To me, this is actually subsidizing logging. These companies should be obliged to clean up their own mess.
Ammann believes that by working with logging companies, there's now a conflict of interest, and the successes claimed by the large conservation groups need to be audited independently, including undercover third-party operatives like Joseph Mellor.
Stopping all the logging activities, for me, is not really realistic if we want to contribute to the socio-economic development of this country.
The World Bank study, however, has revealed there is a net outflow of foreign exchange. The profits are being made elsewhere, not in Africa.
The outflows are much larger than the inflows. Systems are not in place, that there might be some corruption in place, taking place, etc. These kinds of issues need to be looked at very, very carefully, because if you look at the cost of machinery and other things that are imported by our forest companies, etc., and what they are really taking out, I mean, the balance is really not there.
Back at the elephant site, those in the front line feel they're losing the battle.
Parce que quand nous entrons en forêt comme ça, c'est déjà une guerre. Et quand nous sommes en position de faiblesse, on ne sait pas comment nous pouvons travailler.
Cette forêt, pour moi, est très importante qu'on la protège. Parce que c'est une forêt que nos grands-parents laissaient, et c'est avec ça qu'ils nous envoyaient à l'école. C'est avec ça qu'ils nous nourrissaient. On vit de ça, après.
Since this program was filmed, despite further European funding, government initiatives and continued eco-guard activities, there have been 3 further reports of elephant slaughter for meat in southeast Cameroon. Next week's Earth Report comes to you from the British House of Commons, where issues raised in this film and others on Earth Reports from the rainforest are debated by representatives of the industry, governments and the conservation groups.